After the two of us exchanged bows, Heisuke walked away languidly while I awaited Souma's return.
あれ、雪村先輩、まだ起きてたんですか?
You know what we're gonna do right here? We're gonna save. Before Garnet decides I'm gonna crash again on this game. Welcome back. You see, I've actually been meaning to speak with you, Souma.
俺に?
Ever since we've returned to Edo, you've spent every evening trying to improve your swordsmanship after a long day of work. How have you been managing? Everyone's starting to worry that you might be overexerting yourself.
平気ですよ。長倉さんには肩が壊れるなんて言われましたが。俺は羅刹なんですから、たとえ壊れてもすぐに治ります。
It troubled my heart to hear Souma insist on neglecting his personal health.
鳥羽伏見の戦の時、俺は何もできませんでしたから。あの時亡くなった井上さんや山崎さんの分まで働かなくては。
Souma's lamentation affirmed what I had thought all along, and my heart felt heavy hearing their names. But I had to tell him how I truly felt. Are you sure was the answer we were gonna give, but then the crash happened. But now we should be fine. Are you sure you're okay?
大丈夫に決まってるじゃないですか。信頼してください。
I sighed in relief to Souma's solemn words of comfort.
次に会う時は差し違えてでもミキを倒さなくてはいけませんからね。
Damn, Souma! Souma. This visceral threat induced a wave of anxiety inside of me, and I failed to think of a meaningful response. Before proper words could come to mind, oh, it's round one! And I don't mean the arcade place. Souma toppled over, scrunching his face in extreme discomfort as his knees gave out. I watched his individual strands of hair begin turning white, and I gasped in horror. Are you alright, Souma?
平気です。三男さんや東堂さんもこの苦しみを味わっているんですから。
He has a little fang when he talks. I just noticed that. Did he always have that? As I watched Souma writhe in pain, I decided to, and say it with me now, give him blood! Souma, what you need is blood.
何を言っているんですか。そんなことできるはずが。
If you let the bloodlust deteriorate your sanity, then what good would you be to Kondo-san or Hichikata-san when they need you most? So please.
ですが。
Souma squirmed in front of me in agony, wallowing in his stubbornness. I was forced to take matters into my own hands. Without a second of hesitation, I unsheathed the kodachi on my hand, feeling a dull sting as I sliced a white cut in the middle of my palm.
何をするんですか、雪村先輩!
The color in Souma's face drained as he barked at me, but I answered wordlessly, offering him my bloody outstretched palm. Drink my blood. Your sanity depends on it, Souma. He was pale, staring at me as a coat of sticky sweat dripped down his gaunt face. But eventually...
失礼します。
Souma shivered as he slunk behind me. Then he took me by utter surprise. He covered my eyes with his bandaged hand, and I felt his warm breath tickle the back of my neck. Souma, what are you doing?
ぶしつけな真似をしてすみません。血をすすってるところなんてあなたには見られたくないですから。
The hairs covering my body stood as he moved my... What was I trying to say? The hairs covering my body stood as he moved my bloody palm closer to his mouth. Then, he flicked at it gently with his tongue, as if he were dipping his toe into an icy bath. With each lick, his vigor increased, and a pressure shot up the length of my arm as he drank me in.
先輩、どうして俺なんかのためにこんな。
Trepidation dripped from his nervous words, and his voice stuttered in between delicate licks. It may have been something of an indecent proposal, but I felt somewhat vindicated. Don't worry yourself. Just focus on letting this pass. At last, the staggered rhythm of his shallow breathing seemed to calm, and he held me close. We've now moved to February. We've moved. Fast. Also, we have actually physically moved now. A few days later, thanks in no small part to Hijikata-san's efforts, she and Tsugumi managed to rent a mansion owned by a Hatamoto in Edo to use as the headquarters. Shortly thereafter...
みんな、心配かけてすまなかったな。怪我の調子はすっかり良くなったぞ。さて、幕府よりご加盟を賜った。我々は甲府で新政府軍を迎え撃つことになったぞ。しかも今回のお役目にあたって、俺は若年寄格という位をいただいたんだ。若年寄といえば大名だぞ、大名。
He's so proud.
君たちの筒袖を用意させたから、早速戦支度にかかってくれ。それでは本日は解散。
一時はどうなることかと思いましたが、局長、お元気そうでよかったですね。
当たり前じゃねえか。新選組の局長だぜ。弾の一発や二発食らってもどうってことねえよ。
That's nothing to a badass like him. I mean, yeah. No, but...
しかも大名になられたとか。我々も今後は今までのような態度で接するわけにはいきませんよね。
やめとけよ。大名になろうがどうしようが、近藤さんは近藤さんだろうが。
はい。
Nagakura coolly played off the celebrations, even as the room around us buzzed in glee. But Souma had a troubled expression stretched along his lips. On the day of their departure, I peered into the hall curiously, seeing all the men clad in their dashing new uniforms. I was spotted and someone came to approach me.
雪村先輩、いらしたんですね。
Oh, we're not going? Souma! Whoa, that uniform is so sleek.
はい。最初はちょっと窮屈かなと思ったんですけど。肩や腕は和服より楽ですね。銃を扱うならこっちの方が便利そうです。
I see. In his new uniform, I realized just how lean and muscular Souma's frame was. He was flattered by his even proportions, giving him an air of refinery. I nearly blushed from staring at him for too long, but I couldn't help but think about how mature he had looked.
先輩どうしたんです？もしかしてこの格好どこかおかしいですか？
Uh, no, nothing like that. I was just thinking that I almost couldn't recognize you in them, is all.
別人って大げさですね。着ているものが違うだけなのに。
おう、いたいた。雪村先輩、どうだ俺のこの格好。
Nomura showing off. You've gotten a new uniform too, have you, Nomura? Not too shabby indeed. Far from it.
当たり前だろ。
Nomura's just a ball of sunshine. I can't!
にしても、薩長のやつらずるいよな。鳥羽伏見の頃、こんな楽な格好で戦ってやがったなんて。
次はこの間のようにはいかないさ。ですよね、雪村先輩。
お前ら、裏口叩いてんじゃねえ。そろそろ出発するぞ。
Hey, Hijikata.
はい、ただいま。
March 1868. We're moving! Oh, wait, maybe we are going with them. And so the Shinsenkumi began their lengthy convoy from Edo to Kofu, and excitement kept the momentum going until we had to set up camp.
今日はここで野宿か。歩き通しだったからくたくただぜ。
戦う前からそんなこと言っててどうするんだよ。
だってこんなに時間がかかるとは思わなかったからさ。局長はまだ追いついてきてねえの？
言っただろう。今は日野のあたりで新入り大使の見聞をしてるって。
にしても遅すぎじゃねえ？このままだと局長が追いつく前に甲府に着いちまうぜ。長倉さんたちもかなり不満を溜め込んでるみてえだし。
As Nomura poked his nose up to search for our friends, Souma fell into a contemplative stupor. What Nomura had mentioned was true. Nakakura had publicly aired his frustration with Kondo-san, bringing to light a slew of unsettling opinions. Silence floated between us until Souma looked up.
雪村先輩、俺一度戻って様子を見に行ってきます。
The chief? In Hino? Do you really think that's a good idea?
もしかしたら何かあったのかもしれませんから。
Just as the words escaped from Soma's mouth.
相馬君はいるか？
島田さん、俺に何か？
すぐに局長をお呼びしてきてくれ。甲府城が敵の手に落ちた。
なんだって。
Hours passed until Kondo-san arrived, saddled atop his stallion to a somber encampment. Needless to say, breaking the news to him wasn't easy.
お上から支度金をいただいて出陣したのだ。ここで兵を引くわけにはいかん。
勝てると思ってんのか？今回の知らせを聞いて相当な数の兵が逃げ出しちまったんだぜ。
Some of the captains voiced their heated opinions, which echoed ominously around the camp. Souma merely observed the tense conversation from the sideline, brooding with pursed lips. Eventually, Hijikata-san parted two of the soldiers and stepped closer towards the conversation.
雪村、相馬、こっちへ来い。
はい、何でしょう？
俺はこれから援軍を呼んでくることになった。近藤さんの護衛を頼む。何があってもあの人を死なせるんじゃねえぞ。
承知しました。この命に代えても局長をお守りします。
I too will do everything I can to protect him. But Hijikata-san, please travel safely as well.
おう、分かってるって。
Unfortunately, Hijikata-san's plan turned out to have been made in vain, since before he could return, one of the new recruits, who posed even less skill with a firearm than myself, preemptively fired his rifle at the castle, and all hell broke loose. As if matters couldn't have been worse.
くそ、あいつらが持ってるのは薩長の奴らが使ってた新式の銃じゃねえかよ。
このままじゃ全滅させられるのも時間の問題だ。近藤さん、撤退命令を出してくれ。
Hesitancy glimmered in Kono-san's wide eyes as he had clearly disdained the concept of retreat, but
わかった。総員撤退だ。
そう、雪村と共に局長をお守りしてくれ。ここは我々が何とかする。
わかりました。それじゃあ行きましょう。局長、雪村先輩。
Kono-san, please, this way. We escorted our disheartened chief through a trail off the side of a hilly ridge, hoping to make it back to Edo safely through the dense brush. No, it's brush.
もう少しで江戸に着くはずです。お気をしっかり持ってください。
ああ、わかっている。
雪村先輩、大丈夫ですか？少し休憩を取った方がいいですか？
No, pay no attention to me. Right now, we need to keep our focus entirely on Kondo. Before I could finish my thought, I was struck by a sinister feeling that crawled along my spine.
散々な負け戦だったみたいじゃないか。
Oh, great. My suspicious feelings were confirmed when I saw.
お前はミキ、どうしてここに？
Saburo Miki, the former captain of the Shinsenkumi's 9th Division. He holds a grudge against his former group of for the assassination of his older brother, Kashitaro Ito. And this grudge lasts! In real life, this grudge lasts a lot.
お前らの前に姿を現す理由なんて一つしかねえだろ。
Miki sneered, turning his head gently over towards Kondo-san, who stepped back in confusion.
自分が大将の器じゃねえってことをようやく悟ったか？あ？こんなバカが局長やってなきゃもう少しうまく立ち回れただろうにな。まあいいや。兄貴の敵だ。その首落とさせてもらうぜ。
Miki showed his teeth, eager to draw blood, but Souma hastily stepped in front of Kondo-san.
雪村先輩、局長を連れて先に逃げてください。
Souma! I mustered a deep breath and told him, "Come back to me." Okay. Come back to me, Souma. I believe in you.
ありがとうございます。それじゃあ早く。
逃がすとでも思ってるのか？俺はあの夜からずっとお前らを殺すことだけを考えて生きてきたんだぜ。
Miki used his chin to motion subtly in the direction of the trees standing behind us. It only took seconds for us to realize. As Imperial warriors, all of whom were clad in snug Western-style uniforms, emerged.
何
Before we knew it, Mickey's men had us surrounded. All of his men encircled us, and breaking through their makeshift barrier was going to be a challenge.
雪村先輩、俺がミキの注意を引きつけます。その隙に局長を。
But are you going to be okay?
平気ですよ。俺はラセスになれるんですから。
After nodding his head curtly, Souma turned back to face Miki, who flashed a malicious grin. Although there was some comfort in knowing that physical wounds were less of a concern to him, the sense of dread bubbling in my stomach kept on. Soon Souma's hair turned completely stark white.
長々と相手をしてやる暇はない。手早く片付けさせてもらうぞ。
相変わらず口の利き方を知らないみたいだな。もしかしてこの俺がまた前みたいに一方的にやられるとでも思ってるのか。だとしたらおめでたいにも程があるぞ。
何？
Souma's eyes widened in horror when... Oh great, there's two of them! Mickey's hair too turned a similar shade of white. A brilliant crimson glowed eerily in his eyes. I cupped my hands over my mouth, realizing that he...
なんだと？あんた、まさか落ち水を？だが一体どこで？
その問いに答えてやる義理はねえよ。人間だった頃、お前は俺に手も足も出なかったことを覚えてるよな。ってことはつまり
Miki ran at a blistering speed, getting within arm's reach of Souma before swinging in a feint attack. Saburo Miki, a member of the Shikihotai, a division of the Imperial Army. His involvement with the taxation conspiracy led to his becoming a fury in order to avoid capital punishment. Souma rushed to lift his sword upwards to deflect the path of his opponent's incoming blade, but... Before Souma could even budge, Miki already had the tip of his sword pointing at his frail opponent. Souma took a step back nervously, trying to regain his footing outside of Miki's range.
させるわけねえだろうが。
Souma! I frantically wrapped my hand around my kodachi and prepared to run over to Souma, but he cried out.
こっちに来ないでください。俺なら大丈夫ですから。
その強がりがどこまで続くかな。
Miki began kicking the ball of his foot into Souma's chest, knocking the wind out of him on the ground. Stop hurting Souma! I clambered out at Miki to grab his attention, hurling my legs forward with my kodachi in hand, but...
邪魔するんじゃねえよ。
He slammed the butt of his sword's hilt into my gut as I charged forward without even looking.
雪村君、しっかり下へ。
Just... fine.
くそ、よくも雪村先輩を。
悔しいか。 だったらいつでも反撃してみろよ。しかし拍子抜けにも程があるぜ。新選組の羅刹は日が出てる間ろくに動けなくなるってのは本当だったんだな。あのジジイが言ってた通りだ。
Foggy? Foggy? Oh, Foggy? Mickey's... I'm sorry, I'm still... What the hell is that word? Miki's vague statement induced another wave of anxiety festering in the pit of my stomach. Although I had a suspicion of whom it could have been, I guessed that the person responsible for turning Miki into a fury was...
この小僧と遊んでる間に近藤を取り逃がしちまったら元も子もねえ。羅刹ども、その二人を捕まえろ。暴れたら半殺しにしても構わない。
なんだと。
ただし殺すんじゃねえぞ。近藤のとどめは俺が刺す。
Oh god! Mickey waved his hand flippantly as he gave the command, prompting an immediate response from the gang of bloodthirsty furies. One of the furies, slithering towards us with feet dragged along the ground, tried swatting at me.
危ない、雪村君。
Thankfully, I'd been saved by Kondo-san's great reflexes as he pulled me out of the way in time. Thank you, Kondo-san.
君は下がっていなさい。こいつらは俺が何とかする。
But you can't handle them all by yourself.
心配いらない。こう見えても俺は天然理心流宗主なんだからな。
天然理心流だと笑わせるんじゃねえ。田舎仕込みの三流剣術で俺たちに勝てるとでも思ってるのか。血をよこせ。
A creepy smile formed on the mouths of each fury as they sniggered while closing in on us. It was the moment of truth. Either Kondo-san was strong enough to subdue all of them, or... A poorly aimed attack on a Fury was a costly mistake, considering the Furies regenerated their damaged flesh without breaking a sweat. What could I do, really? It was only a matter of time before Miki would get the better of Souma, who looked completely devoid of energy. Just as fear began to set in, a shadow whizzed past me, kicking my bangs up. Then... the Furies around me began to cry out in pain as their blood splattered like ribbons into the air. Wait! Oh, there was only 2 people associated with that color. Is it?
甲府の状況を探れと新政府に命じられて来てみたのですが。
Hey, Amagiri, buddy? Hold on. I mean, let's say, with how many times Amagiri just happens to show up, why is he not a root? We see more of... I think we see more of Amagiri than either Kazuma and especially Shiranui.
まさか君と再会することになるとは思いませんでしたね。
Amagiri suddenly appeared like a phantom in a wispy fog, which had clearly irritated Miki.
そりゃこっちのセリフだ。油講師でのことを忘れたわけじゃねえぜ。
Abura no Koji incident, an internal dispute amongst the Shinsengumi that resulted in the deaths of Ito and several of his men.
君は確か 偽官軍事件に連座して受浪させられていたはずですが、なぜここ
Taxation conspiracy, a group that became known for its involvement in the taxation conspiracy, which labeled them as fraud conspirators in the eyes of the Imperial Army. Saburo Miki captained its 2nd Division. Miki, what the fuck? Okay, but that doesn't tell me what the taxation conspiracy actually is.
行動とかいうじじいに取引を持ちかけられたんだよ。落ち水とやらの実験に協力すれば牢から出してやるってな。
Father had offered to turn Miki into a fury? Just as much as he offered Takara to be a fury and a demon arm, but well, that's last time.
本物の鬼として落ち水という下道の策を用いる者を許すわけにはいきません。なんだ、俺とやるってのか。面白い、相手になってやるぜ。行動がどう説明していたかはわかりませんが。
Amagiri, I would like it if you just took care of Miki, please.
羅刹の力の源はその人間の寿命。力を使えば使うほど命をどんどん削られることになる。
Oh, you're here to give us this piece of information, aren't you?
そのことを知っているのですか。なんだと。
For a brief moment, Miki's expression soured in astonishment, but he quickly played it off.
構わねえさ。新選組の連中を一人残らず地獄に叩き落とすことができるんだな。邪魔するってんなら、まずはてめえをあの世へ送ってやる。なおも戦い続けるつもりですか。わかりました。相手になりましょう。
Amagiri spread his feet in an offensive stance, glancing at me from his peripherals. Blech.
ここから離れなさい。彼とは私が戦います。
But, in truth, I was smacked in the face by confusion. I mean, I get it. You wouldn't really expect Amagiri to be your savior, but Amagiri is your savior in this case. Was it alright for me to trust Amagiri, a man who had been nothing but an obstacle to the Shinsengumi at every conceivable opportunity?
Yukimura-kun, 行こう。
But...
少なくともあの鬼は今我々と戦うつもりはないようだ。急いで江戸に戻り、相馬くんの手当てをしなくてはなるまい。さあ。
I was brought back to reality as I peeked over at Souma's body, lacerated and drenched in blood. Souma, hang in there. Here, grab my shoulder.
平気です。一人で歩けますから。
Please, you're in no condition to walk. Both Gondo-san and I lifted Souma's body from the ground and swiftly carried him down the trail.
余計な邪魔が入っちまったな。まあいい。次に会うときはお前らを全員殺すときだ。その時までせいぜい楽しんでおけよ。
I will be surprised if we ever see Miki ever again.
それでは、いざ。
Even from behind us, the intense aura of their seething contempt felt thick in the tense air. With our backs turned to them, Kondo and I raced down the mountain path towards Edo. I was totally unaware of what became of them after we left them in the Kofu forest, but there was nothing to be gained for us, save for our lives, perhaps. More than anything, I was consumed with guilt, realizing my father was responsible for this. Not only had he cursed some of the Shinsengumi warriors, but now his new abomination threatened to disrupt the entire world with his righteous anger.